Okay, the gentleman on the third row at the end.
Good evening, Mr. Mahbubani. I just want to add on to what you said to this to the lady's question on having you have diplomacy with your enemies, not with your friends, to those who are vastly different to yourself. But I was wondering, what are your thoughts on top of that, bringing these very different actors together, both in diplomacy, but also on something on a higher level like economic development or scientific advancement? And I'm thinking about the example of when the Chinese came in and brought in the, and had fostered rapprochement between the Iranians and the Saudis. That's what are your thoughts on that, and how that can be, and perhaps how that can be a successful solution to what's going on in Southwest Asia?
By Southwest Asia, you mean?
Middle East.
Middle East, oh, okay. You're right, you've got to find other ways and means of bringing people together. And I'm going to give you, by the way, please forgive me, my answer sounds frivolous, but it's actually very serious. Why did Southeast Asia succeeded? And I say Southeast Asia succeeded because of 3 4-letter words. One is basically, it's a 4-letter word beginning with F, is fear. We began, all of us were afraid of communist expansion, then we came together as ASEAN. Then we had luck. We had good leaders, amazingly good leaders in Southeast Asia, which is why Southeast Asia did so well. But the third 4-letter word, I'm going to spell it for you, is GOLF. And I'm serious. I want you to know that I'm serious. I played golf with my ASEAN counterparts. And I knew that if I had a difficult problem to solve, right? And I gave an example in the book, Kyung-Hwa, you've seen this. Singapore proposed the idea of an Asia-Europe meeting because, Americans are Europeans talking to each other, Asians and Americans talking to each other, Asians and Europeans are not talking to each other. Singapore proposed an Asia-Europe meeting. But in those days, in 1990s, there was still some rivalry between Malaysia and Singapore. So the then Prime Minister of Malaysia, Dr. Mahathir, said, since Singapore proposed it, I will oppose it. That was the problem. So what happened? I went to the ASEAN meeting, I played golf with my ASEAN counterpart, my Malaysian counterpart, Tan Sri Kamil. I played a round of golf with him, had a good game of golf, then we had a few beers. Then at the end of the beers, I said, Kamil, tolong, Malay word, help me. I said, I cannot get my promotion until you can persuade your Prime Minister to remove his objection. So Kamil, after very good friend, said, okay, Kishore, for you, I'll do it. Sure enough, he spoke to his Prime Minister and removed the opposition. And that's how the first Asia-Europe meeting came about. It was a result of a golf game. And I can tell you, in a game of golf, and I know there are many distinguished golfers here, you can find out about a person's character when you watch them play golf. Once a person kicks the ball out of the rough, I know who I'm dealing with, right? So, it's amazing. So, believe me, one reason why Southeast Asia hasn't had wars is because the chiefs of armies are too busy planning the next golf game. And I'm serious. And, if you can imagine a world in which Israelis and Iranians play golf with each other, believe me, it changes the chemistry significantly. So, this is where, diplomacy, I want to emphasize, is not new. It's been around for thousands of years. Our ancestors have found ingenious ways for us to get along. And that's what we need to do. We need to go back to the old ways of compromise, of dealing with people whom you don't like, and dealing with people whom you despise. But you have to deal with them. That's what life is about. and I think it can be done, and I hope this is why people, you mentioned Southeast Asia, Middle East, the people in the Middle East should just come and visit Southeast Asia and then see that the diversity in Southeast Asia is far more than the diversity in West Asia. Most of them, as you know, have one religion, Islam. Right? We have how many different religions in Southeast Asia? Yet we get along. So we have to go back to the past and understand the wisdom of the past and bring it forward into the 21st century.
Well, I'm just glad that I survived my diplomatic career without playing golf. But I completely agree that we need to revive the efficacy of diplomacy. It's hard because the public scrutiny is very harsh and against that. And I've heard from some ambassadors across the street where they're afraid of being seen together even. Never mind conversing. Being seen together because somebody will take a photo of you.
You're absolutely right. That's absurd.
It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd.
If you can't be seen with your enemy, then what's the point?
Right.
That's what diplomacy was not invented to enable you to talk to your friends.
You need to talk to your enemies.
Yeah. In fact, when you see and when you walk into a room, you see your enemy, walk straight towards him.
Which is what I did when I saw the North Korean foreign minister on Forsyth.
That's exactly. But that's a good example.
So I think, Kishore, I think your wisdom, your public statements will certainly encourage future generations of diplomats to go into that direction, as hard as it is under current circumstances. But it's been a marvelous conversation, but I think we're out of time. But one last question I will take as my prerogative, and that is, what next for you? I think in your book you say the history of Singapore has to be told, fully and in an uninhibited way. And so I was wondering, is that your next project? As now a historian and academician, would that be something that you would perhaps already be doing? Or?
Yeah, I mean, you're asking a very good question, because in the last 7 years, I produced 5 books.
Yes.
And I've spoken about them in this hall, I think, also. I suspect another book is on the way.
Okay. And when that is out, you will certainly come and give us another talk.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Kishore. Thank you.
偷偷告诉大家，我最近发现了新法宝 Royal Face 逆时奇迹系列，它有活肤露、全效精华，还有精华霜。尤其我皮肤比较偏干，所以我非常的注重保湿。保湿做得好，肌肤自然烹润。提亮肤色更年轻，抚平皱纹超有感，而且气色变好。用心保养，每天都更美一点。美吧。